remake of The Jungle Book is in cinemas now. We have been joined by a superfan. Could you call yourself a superfan? Tabitha Beverley, hello?
Yes, I could. Hello, Liam.
A big superfan.
Yes.
That's what you would call yourself.
I love Jungle Book. Everything about Jungle Book.
So, we're going to talk about the new one. Ryan's going to tell us what it is about.
So it basically, everyone's seen the original.
I think
at
so.
This point, yeah. So, but if you somehow don't know, The Jungle Book was
Where have you been living your life?
Originally a book by Rudyard Kipling, which has become quite beloved over time. It's 100 years now, over that long time.
Yeah.
And this time it's been adapted by Jon Favreau, who's been in a lot of Marvel stuff. He did Chef, which I still need to see.
Very good.
And this time he's back with us. There's also concurrently there's another Jungle Book film, which is due in 2018,
which is really complicated.
The Andy Serkis one, and it's now being changed from The Jungle Book Origins to just The Jungle Book.
It's not even the. It's just Jungle Book. What's all that about?
Well, I don't know what's going on. So if you don't know the basic story, basically it follows a man cub called Mowgli who lives in the African plains with a bunch of wolves. He doesn't really fit in though, and he has to go back to his sort of his real kind, and he is led across the jungle by Bagheera, who's a black panther. However, he's been hunted by a tiger called Shere Khan all the way, and has to avoid all of the general troubles that the jungle can get yourself into and all the general dangers.
Yes.
Now, the first thing that is overwhelmingly different from this is it's a lot more serious than the cartoon version.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot more serious. I mean, the danger's a lot more heightened because, I mean, with Shere Khan, who's voiced by Idris Elba, he's a lot more threatening in terms of, like, just, the things he does, and some of them are quite really disturbing for young kids, I feel like. He straight up murders one of the characters, which is really,
Arkila.
Yeah, he straight up murders that, and he is a very threatening force, and I think he was really well voiced. I mean, they're all really well voiced, so I'll get to that. But Idris Elba especially is just extremely threatening, and it does make it a lot more serious in tone to watch Mowgli sort of escape, but with this incredible force following him.
I'm going to throw a Tabitha at this point and say, in terms of, do you think it's a different turn for the film, isn't it? It's different from the first one. Do you think it's better, or do you think it works?
It works, definitely works. I think the two stories are quite different, actually, because, like Ryan said, you see a lot more. You see a lot more of the animals in the new one.
Yeah.
Whereas in the old one, it was more about getting Mowgli back to the man village. Whereas I think in this one, it's more about Mowgli accepting, making the others see that he is actually part of the jungle. He is animal. He doesn't have to go back to the man village as such. So I think they're both really, really good stories, and I just love them both.
Yeah. If there's any way to describe the older one, it's probably whimsical, because it doesn't really. It's sort of just going from meeting characters to meeting characters, really, isn't it? It's from one account to another, and this what feels like a lot like that. But there is more of an overarching story than the original in this one. But it is, like I said, I mean, the tone is a lot more serious, and I do feel like that was at odds sometimes with what was going on, but I feel like
dark and gritty.
Yeah, but I do feel like it worked incredibly well as an adventure and as a spectacle, because the CGI is fantastic in every single way. I mean, it's an incredible marvel. I mean, if you really don't know what, I mean, from The Revenant at the start of the year with that CGI bear to right now, it seems like CGI animals are going to become the in thing. Yeah. And Andy Serkis last year with them, 2 years ago now, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, it had become the in thing now. And it's incredible that just how incredibly animated they are. I mean, the muscles move as you would expect them to. The hair's realistic. The mouths are perfectly in sync.
The most impressive one is the little wolves.
Yeah,
the little wolf cubs. They are.
They were adorable.
It is absolutely seamless.
Have you seen like the advert for biscuits where they come out the packet? It looked like those ones.
Yeah.
I wanted them.
Little tiny cubs.
I wanted all
and
of
Jon
them.
Favreau himself has said that he eschewed basically all of the standard techniques that he could have chosen to do this. He wanted to do something cutting edge, and he didn't want to do it easy. He didn't want to shy away from it, because it's such an iconic story. The Rudyard Kipling books are timeless. Yeah. And he's done extremely well. I mean, it's incredibly well directed. You really get a sense of scale and a proper sense of adventure and fun. But it's an incredible marvel just to look at the landscapes and the characters. They're all just so well realised. I mean, the voice cast, it helps that all of the characters are amazingly voiced as well. I mean, I think the standout for me is probably Bill Murray, because it's just perfect, really, isn't it? It's perfect casting.
It is.
Bill Murray is a stoner bear.
I was a bit worried, because the 1967 Baloo, Phil Harris, he was amazing as Baloo, which is like my favourite childhood film ever. So I was a bit worried that I wouldn't love it as much, because it is Bill Murray and it is a new film, but I love it just as much as I love Phil Harris's.
Ben Kingsley's got that typical authoritative air as Bagheera, that bringing the perfect voice to that. Scarlett Johansson's got the perfect sultry sort of seductive voice for Car. It's really well done.
She's got a lovely singing voice, actually. If you'd stayed for the credits after they did the full version of I Want to Be Like You, It then went into Trust in Me, and Scarlett Johansson is amazing.
I've heard her sing before. She's very good.
And then there's Christopher Walken, who's just worth the price of admission. I'll get the song in a second, but just him himself. What a voice! I mean, I know you've got some criticisms to read out from other people, but I mean, he has played a lot. I mean, King Louis in the comic and the animated version's very sort of small. He's just an orangutan, isn't he?
He's just a small orangutan.
Yeah, he's just a small orangutan, and that was part of the charm. But this time he's just a massive. I mean, Jon Favreau chose to make him this giant ape because he wanted to make sure all the animals were from Africa, and orangutans aren't in Africa and never have been from Africa. So he decided to use an extinct ape, which is massive, and he fits the character so well. It's Christopher Walken as an ape, and it works completely well. Now Neel Sethi as Mowgli. I mean, a lot of people have said that this could be one of the worst child performances that they have seen.
Really?
I've actually seen reviews which have said it's horrendous.
I've spoken to some people who said they weren't too impressed by him, but it's worth bearing in mind that this kid wasn't an actor before this film. No. He's 9 years old, and he was, he does resemble Mowgli. It should be said as well. I think it was a good choice.
It was amazing.
One quote was, "It looked like it was his first day out of acting school."
Well, he didn't even go to acting school.
Bear in mind that he was acting pretty much all on green screen. And he didn't have any interaction with actual animals or anything. I think you have to cut him a bit of slack.
And I think he did a really good job either way. I mean, he's just, you have the magic, you have the twinkle in his eye, you know.
Did it remind you a little bit of like Tom Haverford from Parks and Rec?
Yes. Oh my God, it did.
Like every little line was just sort of, and it just did, and that was kind of fun in its own way.
I think he did really well. I mean, considering he's only 9 years old. You know, I mean, child actors in themselves are either going to be massive hit or massive miss, as we've seen with people like Jacob Tremblay and the kid from Beast of No Nation.
Jacob Tremblay set the bar too high, hasn't he?
And they were adorable together at the Oscars. I'm never going to get over that.
No.
But just you've got to go hard or go home with the child actor. I think he's done really well here, considering how young he is. He really captured the spirit, and I enjoyed that about it. Now the songs, I mean,
there's only about 2 songs.
There's only 2 songs. And one of them fits perfectly, and that's The Bare Necessities.
Yeah. And
then Christopher Walken's song is sort of the fact that he's playing it so seriously, and it comes in at like such a really sinister time, and it's so weird because it's him singing it as well. I'm half between like that was awful and that was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
It was like Glee.
I think it worked.
It was absolutely amazing.
I think I loved it.
Yeah.
Because it is played seriously in the film, but then in the credits it's obviously a bit more jolly and stuff, and I think it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I did like that. Okay,
it's amazing.
My small gripe with the film. I did enjoy the film. I did like the film. I may have to go see it a second time to really get a full sense of it. I feel like it didn't really suck me in like the 1967 one did as a kid. I mean, I don't know if it's because I've got older. I hope it's not, because that means I'm dead inside if it is. I said this from watching the trailers as well, and the film is exactly the same. I just felt like I could see Idris Elba reading the lines. I feel like I could see Scarlett Johansson in a recording booth.
Characters.
I couldn't see the characters. I could only see the people. The only person that doesn't fit with is Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Chris Walken. I could see Chris Walken being in there with these hair flicked up, like I want to walk like you. I can't do walking. Nobody can. But
nobody. That was a terrible effort.
I can't.
I don't blame you. Nobody can do it. Nobody can.
But yeah, that's my small gripe. I feel like there's so much good world building in the film that it creates such an amazing landscape of CG and animals that to have these kind of well-known performers, I mean, who do have very good voices for the roles, I wasn't immersed enough.
Well, I think, as you say, that's why I liked it so much, because even though the tone was a bit odd at times, and it is a lot more serious than the original, it's such a brilliantly built world. It's a living, breathing jungle, and Jon Favreau has brought that to life excellently with all that CG and the perfect voice casting, and it does feel like a proper Spirit of Adventure, you know, like a classic. A classic like family entertainment like this is. I mean, if this is what Disney are going to do with all of their live action viewers,
I've heard Little Mermaid.
Power
next.
to them.
What?
Yeah.
Little Mermaid might be next.
Well, it's Pete's Dragon coming up next, and then it's Beauty and the Beast.
In terms of remakes and stuff, I think Little Mermaid's next.
That's another one of my favourites.
Well, there's Pete's Dragon this year, and then Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson next year.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the film very much, so I jumped quite a few times.
Yeah.
Not even afraid, because my boyfriend came with me, and he went, I felt you jump at that last point. And I was like, I couldn't help it. Like, I was so immersed. There was one small thing that I really didn't like, though, and it wasn't to do with the film. It was to do with the actual, like, experience, and that was, there was people on their phones Snapchatting parts of the movie, and I'm going, are you kidding me?
We've been preaching this. It's
It did my
it's
head in.
horrible, isn't it?
Right at the start, there was someone taking a picture of like the title screen on their phone to send to people, and that just did my head in. But then it was like during the actual film and different
There's
parts,
no
I was
need.
going, oh,
It's inexcusable. It just isn't.
I hate
We
it.
didn't have that. We had one person texting, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it
But
always
it
happens.
was like 3 people.
It's a real pain. But the big question, obviously we all recommend it. That goes
Yeah.
without
Yes.
saying. But the big question is, and from a Jungle Book superfan, Tabitha,
Yes.
is it better than the original?
I don't think you can call it better
Just different.
because it is such a different story, and the original one kind of did sugarcoat it. But it is different, and they're both just as good. Like I still love the 1967 one. That appeals to my inner child, but this one appeals more to my mature self, I think.
The inner sense of adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the fact that he has crafted such a brilliant world with all the perfect CGI and the amazing soundtrack. I mean, the instrumental soundtrack is just it's superb on top of the
I
songs.
bought it.
Yeah, there you go. You can't get much more high praise than that if somebody bought the soundtrack. And it's just a brilliant watch, just in for the sense of the world alone, if not the story. But I really enjoyed it.
That is the Jungle Book. It is in cinemas now. I urge you all to go see it, and I will indeed probably go and see it again.
It's worth the price for Christopher Walken.
I think
Yeah,
it
it
is.
is.
It's worth the price.